Welcome to a new episode of Journey of Hope, where we bring you stories of change and discipleship happening in the country of Lebanon. I'm your host, Elio Constantine. Today, we're bringing you a hopeful update, how Heart for Lebanon is responding to despair and bringing hope to the most vulnerable during Lebanon's worst economic, political, security, and spiritual crisis. And this is the first time I'm shedding light on the spiritual crisis in this podcast. We always talk about the other crises, but if we want to dig deeper into the root cause of all the region's troubles, of all the world's troubles, actually, at its core, it is a spiritual crisis. To talk more about Heart for Lebanon's response to this spiritual crisis, I have with me today Camille Melki, Heart for Lebanon CEO and co-founder, to shed light on Lebanon's most recent power crisis and a general update from the field at Heart for Lebanon. We're also going to be talking about one of Heart for Lebanon's most recent and most exciting ministry opportunities. We're calling it Farm to Table. And Camille, thank you so much for joining. How have you been first to start?
Well, thank you, Elio. It's great to be with you and our listeners. I'm doing well. It's been a challenging year, but nevertheless, it's been a wonderful, great year full of ministry opportunities. That's what we celebrate.
That is amazing to hear. We heard you in a recent video talk about Lebanon's power crisis. Can you elaborate more on the actual crisis? What has happened since your last communication with us? And how does this particular problem or challenge relate to Lebanon's general situation?
Well, in your introduction, Elio, you mentioned a multi level crises that the country of Lebanon is experiencing. And one of those crises that our country goes through on regular every 4 or 5 years, should I say, is that we run the whole government of Lebanon without any elected official. And recently, we've been without a president, without a sitting prime minister and a cabinet to manage the day-to-day needs of the people of Lebanon and everybody that lives in the country of Lebanon, predominantly a very large 2 million refugee population. Without officials in place and with a very compounded economic crisis, and add to all that the corruption that is so deep and well rooted, unfortunately, in government decisions, the country of Lebanon ran out of fuel oil. As simple as that. Nobody there to place new orders. Some political bickering stopped others from raising the flag and the warning that we're going to run out of fuel oil. Before you know it, the government have zero resources to run its power plants. So the country of Lebanon went in total darkness out of government-provided electricity. Now, fortunate enough, there are some places like at Heart for Lebanon that we have our solar systems, we have our own generator. It won't replace full government-provided electricity, but gives you plenty enough energy to operate your ministry uninterrupted. This goes because of the foresight that the Heart for Lebanon management had, but also goes in great extent to the generosity of our investors who make things happen to us in order that we do not sit and wait like others in darkness, not having any opportunity to do ministry, losing even the basic essentials such as refrigerator, air conditioning, heating, bulb light at night. Our service could have gone dead. Our security cameras would have went dead. Our gates and doors who open automatically would no longer function. I mean, you could imagine what kind of a ministry interruption this would have caused. And it has caused many. That's caused the airport to shut down, and then they government had to rush and use some of the army reserve fuel oil to operate the airport. There are a lot of hospitals that are struggling, a lot of municipalities, a lot of essential government offices that went completely dark, but for Lebanon did not, and we're very grateful for that.
That is a blessing, truly. And just to shed light or elaborate more on the electricity situation in Lebanon, this problem goes back to the 80s and 90s. And just to explain how things run over there for our listeners to know, Lebanon's main electricity source to its government buildings, to its residential properties and all that, the main power supply is provided by government-owned and operated power plants that operate on diesel oil. And because since the 90s, that supply has not been enough to supply the whole nation, Lebanon has been relying on small neighborhood private generator distributors, if I may call them that. So you have the main source of power, which is government owned, and then your alternate source of power, which is locally neighborhood level owned, and then solar power, which are three categories. We have a corruption issue with the government, and the Lebanese people have never been able to rely on the official main source of power. Then comes the alternative market, the privately owned generators, which are also corrupt, if I may say, and they also resort to monopoly. They also resort to hitched prices, especially when the government is in crisis. They manipulate the people and make profit off of them big time. So solar power here in the States, we would consider people who are environmentally cautious, who are the main, if I may say, the main clients for solar power. But in Lebanon, it's not a luxury. It's not because you're environmentally aware, which is not a bad thing, but it's a necessity because you have the two main sources of power you cannot rely on. One does not give you enough power, and the other wants to make use of every opportunity to take all your money. So solar power is a necessity more than a luxury. Would you say this is an accurate description of the situation?
It is. Of course, now we want to keep it in our from our ministry lens.
Yes.
And you have mentioned the spiritual crisis, all right? So we have well described the situation in Lebanon. But what's important for us as people of faith to be reminded of Christ's word. We are the light of the world, right? His words tells us that we are placed in this world to be light to the communities around us, shedding light in the midst of darkness, giving hope in the midst of despair as well. So for that reason, Heart for Lebanon even takes this power cut crisis as a spiritual warfare. You will look at a very corrupt government, and you look at people who are taking advantage of the others' needs. Businesses who are making great profit because the government is not providing the essential power. So you think about that and you realize that they're both conspirators to the same problem. They're both contributing to the same deficiency, whether these privately owned generators who are politically motivated and supported by the government for individuals' benefit and politicians' benefit. Hard for Lebanon wants to serve people around us, and our goal is to give the alternative model to how communities should live and how communities should run. So when we put a solar system, first of all, we're ensuring that our ministry continues uninterrupted. Second, we're making sure we're providing the services needed for people in great destitute. Third, we are also making sure that we don't give up to all the attempts around us by people who want to do ill to others, but rather we provide, as I mentioned just a minute ago, the alternative option, the option of loving, caring, serving, reaching out, bringing a message of hope in the midst of despair, bringing basic food and essentials to a family in great need, providing medical and dental care. This is on the physical aspect, but also providing the spiritual care, the discipleship programs, the Bible studies, the church. Can you imagine if we were without power? All these would be shut down and unavailable for people who are seeking to know who Christ is. And really, really, in the last couple of weeks, we are understanding better what Christ meant. We are the light of the world.
How have you been seeing people's reactions first to the crisis, to the recent power crisis, and then what's their reaction when they know that Heart for Lebanon is operating and they're still serving them and they haven't stopped or interrupted any of their help or ministry?
Well, no doubt you have a sense of disgust toward people in authority who are supposed to be serving the community, leadership that is supposed to be providing for the people around them. In fact, they're only serving their best interest and building their own wealth on the expense of others. So you have that mounting anger and disgust, as I mentioned, but you, on the other hand, you see a sign of a bright hope when people look at Heart for Lebanon and ministries like us who go over and beyond the call of duty to continue to provide, care for, love on, and serve the communities that God has called us to do so.
When we come back, Camille and I will talk in depth about how a piece of land that Heart for Lebanon was blessed with by generous investors is both meeting the physical needs of those we serve and also restoring a sense of dignity and purpose. It's Heart for Lebanon's Farm to Table program, and to give you an introduction to what it's all about, give a listen to this message about the program from Katie, Bashir's daughter. Bashir is Heart for Lebanon's field manager at the Bika Ministry Center and lead pastor of our Hope Evangelical Church in the Bika. Katie is still in middle school and she loves to spend her free time at the ministry center, finding every chance to help.
The Lord blessed Heart for Lebanon with a beautiful piece of land. We prayed together united as one, asking God to guide us in how to tend for this blessing. The Lord puts it in our heart to plant the land with seasonal vegetables. In addition, everything we harvest would be given to those in need. The land would need people to plow, fertilize, plant, and harvest it, which would employ a considerable number of the unemployed. Heart for Lebanon joyfully achieved its goal and the land was planted with seasonal vegetables. The Lord blessed the land greatly and it produced an abundant first harvest, which in return has blessed many people in need. The Lord has blessed us with first harvest, and the second harvest of olives and fruits are soon to come.
Camille, I want to move away from the crisis, and I'm so happy to hear that in the midst of all this crisis, nothing has been interrupted, but actually the team at Heart for Lebanon on the field has been responding more and more to people. And I want to talk about something more hopeful and more awesome, if I want to say. It's the Olive Grove project that we're also calling the Farm to Table. It's a new land, right? It's just adjacent to our ministry center in the Bika, and it's an agricultural land. And it's been planted and the team has been cultivating. Tell me more about it. How did the story start and where is it today? And I want to know plans for the future.
Well, I mentioned earlier that the country of Lebanon is addressing multi crises at the same time. So if you're moving away from the power cut crisis, that's only one. But you have a major economic collapse that the Lebanese and those who are living in Lebanon have been experiencing since 2019. Recently, the World Bank has considered Lebanon as the second worst nation in inflation, especially when it is related to the basic food essentials. They did a study recently in 2023 and and the first half of 2024, and Lebanon is second to Argentina and the skyrocketing prices of groceries. What you need to go and purchase from the market just to put food at the table. If this is the reason why when we were gifted this beautiful piece of land next to our Hope Ministry Center in Zahle, we first thing we jump into the opportunity is that we want to provide uh, the same concept of food to table, farm to table, excuse me, concept in the US, provide that to refugees and local Lebanese in great need. So we planted cucumbers, zucchinis, watermelon, tomatoes, corn. I mean, it's just a little bit of everything, in fact. And one, you're providing job opportunities for people in need. Second, it's there's nothing I think that gives greater joy to a person than to see something grow in front of them. I mean, a mother and a father enjoy seeing a baby born and growing in front of them, right? In their midst. The same thing the farmers feel. I mean, I'm not a farmer, right? But I live on site and I look out to the window every morning and see those vegetable plants growing and see our fruit trees growing. It's just so exciting. So one, you're providing job opportunities. Second, you're giving a hopeful message of growth and nurturing. Third, you are restoring the dignity of people in great need. People who cannot go to the market and buy those food essentials, they come to our center and pick 1 or 2 pounds of this and 1 or 2 pounds of that. Make these, mass distributions possible of fresh vegetables and fresh fruit is just amazing. More to this, we stopped doing any snacks for our children at our Hope Evangelical Church or at our Hope schools. And rather, we're distributing fruits. We're giving healthier products for children. Rather than the chips and the candy, they're getting fruits instead in any gathering that we have. So you can see the multiple approaches of caring, loving, serving people in need. And when we have excess of produce and we don't have the means to distribute them to on time to people in need, we're taking it to the market, selling them at wholesale, of course, providing more financial resources for us to do the next plantation. And soon, in the mid to end of September, we'll be planting 420 trees, olive trees, and many other fruit trees. But the majority of the trees we'll be planting are olives. This is why we're calling it the Olive Grove project. But again, it has that farm to table concept.
It's unfortunate that the economic crisis in Lebanon reflects on everything. I was in Lebanon over the summer and I noticed something new that I haven't noticed before. When you walk into your average grocery store, the price of fruits, whether it's watermelon or cantaloupes or strawberries, are so high that it is almost a luxury to have watermelon. Back in the day, it was very normal to walk into a grocery store and the cheapest things you can buy were fruits and vegetables. Now they're very expensive, and part of it is because Lebanese farmers are finding more gain in their produce if they're sold to to the international market, whether it's to countries that don't have that plantation or other profitable places to sell them, that has left the country of Lebanon feeling that it's a luxury to buy fruits. And there you have Heart for Lebanon having all this awesome organic and healthy produce being given and added to the monthly food package, the monthly care package to the families in need. So thank you for that. Thank you for the team at Heart for Lebanon for all their efforts. And you mentioned that in the future, olive trees will be planted, knowing that the olive tree is native to the Lebanon and to the Mediterranean area. Legends say, or history debates, that the origin of the olive tree is actually from Lebanon. We're Lebanese, of course, we're going to go with this story, right? But I think it is essential also to be added in the future to the family care package, because olive oil and olives are a staple to your daily Lebanese nutrition, if I may call it. Thank you so much, Camille, for this update, for this exciting update. Thank you for the team on the field at Heart for Lebanon for being being the light, figuratively and spiritually and literally, in the midst of all the darkness that is happening in the country and in the region so far. And a big thank you to our listeners who have been our greatest support, the biggest support to this podcast. I want to thank you so much for being engaged with us, for giving us your advice, for asking us questions and giving us your thoughts. Thank you so much for your prayers. And today I have a prayer request for you, like every time. I want you to pray for the team at Heart for Lebanon, for them to have the courage, the wisdom, and the creativity to always find ways, in the midst of all the despair, in the midst of all the darkness, find ways to minister to people on all levels, on all the levels they need. I do encourage you to go to heartforlebanon.org/prayer and be engaged with our prayer ministry. If you sign up, you will get updated prayer requests from us. And don't forget, you can send us your prayer requests anytime. And we would love to be praying for you as well from all our hearts. We consider you an essential and integral part of the Heart for Lebanon family. Don't forget to share this podcast, this episode, with your friends and family. Send them the link and tell us what you think. Send us an email at podcast@heartforlebanon.org. We'll get back to you with answers. And until the next episode, God is with you. Allah ma'akum.